Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a deep dive into one of the most devastating and powerful British films ever made, Nil by Mouth by Gary Oldman, which was his 1997 directorial debut. This is not a comfortable movie, it's not a crowd pleaser, and it's definitely not background watching. It's brutal, emotionally exhausting, and painfully honest, and frankly horrible in places. But it's also one of the most important British movies I think made. So let's break this film down to understand why it hit so hard and why 25 years later it still hasn't lost 1 ounce of its impact. Before we dive into the film itself, let's talk about Gary Oldman. At this point in his career, Oldman was already known for The Professionals, JFK, Dracula, a real bunch of intense performances, but Nil by Mouth was absolutely his passion project. Now, if you didn't know, Gary Oldman grew up in South London in a world shaped by alcoholism, poverty, shouting matches, and real emotional turbulence. And he wanted to create a movie that wasn't glamorising any of that. It wasn't dressed up, it just told the truth. He actually funded large parts of the movie himself, and he wrote the script in hotel rooms while working on other movies. In fact, many of the locations in this film is places he knew personally, and lots of the dialogue, especially the fights, come directly from memories of his own childhood. So in terms of plot, the film centres around Raymond, played by Winstone, and he's a man trapped in a cycle of violence, anger, bad decisions. His wife, played masterfully by Burke, tries to keep her family functioning, dealing with Ray's complete unpredictability and his really poor behaviour. Valerie's brother Billy, played by Charlie Creed-Miles, struggles with heroin addiction. And the film follows these 3 characters as they navigate their way around South London. Now, this movie really isn't plot driven. There's no big twist, no satisfying arc. Instead, it's a complete slice of life. It's a raw, unfiltered look at how trauma, addiction and the environment shape people day after day.
Ray? What's the matter? What's going on? What? What's going on?
This film is about the performances, because it's the acting here that's utterly on another level. Ray Winstone delivers one of the most terrifyingly real performances of domestic aggression I think that's ever been captured on film. His outbursts feel generally dangerous. You hold your breath every time he enters the room. I think Gary Oldman does a really good job of showing both his vulnerability underneath and how generational trauma has affected him. He absolutely nails this part. He's threatening all the way through the movie, but you can get to understand the person behind that. But for me, Burke is the soul of this movie. Her performance is so authentic, so emotionally grounded, that she walked away with Best Actress at Cannes for it, rightly deserved. Frankly, it's Oscar worthy in my eyes. She doesn't overact, she just exists in this world. And that's what makes her scene so devastating. I think possibly this is one of the best performances ever put to screen. Even the supporting cast, and many of them who are non-professionals and locals, feel like real people living real lives. There is not one false note in the acting in this movie. When talking about themes, it's about cycles of trauma and everyday survival. This is where Nil by Mouth becomes more than just a drama. It's a film about cycles. Cycles of addiction, cycles of rage, of disappointment, of inherited suffering. Oldman shows us how violence doesn't begin or end with one person. It's learnt, it's absorbed, and ultimately it becomes a reflex. It's like learnt behaviour. That being said, at the same time, the film does manage to find small glimpses of humanity. There are some scenes where characters laugh, they joke around, and they do show just a little bit of tenderness. Now, these moments aren't comic relief, they're just reminders that even in the darkest environments, people still find ways to care for each other. It's a film that doesn't judge, it just observes. Now, a massive part of why this film is so powerful just simply comes from the filmmaking style. The handheld camera gives you a documentary quality, like you're witnessing real events, while the cinematography uses natural light, cramped spaces and real street locations just to give you the authenticity that this film absolutely deserves. Now, while the dialogue is largely improvised, apparently, Oldman kind of encourages the actors to go off script, to interrupt each other, to speak the way families speak, messy, loud, overlapping each other, utterly emotional. Now, one of the most praised scenes in this film is the unbroken argument that feels so real that it's utterly uncomfortable, not because it's violent, but because exactly how real arguments escalate, slowly at first until suddenly they become out of control. The sound quality and the sound design is equally important here. There's no dramatic score trying to tell you how to feel. Instead, you hear traffic, footsteps, TV static, shouts, all the noise of working class London that I am really familiar with. Now, the pacing is slow and heavy, and some people have criticised that. The film is slow, sometimes painfully slow. Scenes linger, characters sit in silence, emotions simmer instead of exploding. But to me, that's utterly intentional. Oldman isn't giving you a story here, he's giving you life. And life doesn't happen quickly or neatly. And if you have grown up around addiction or abuse, you know that quiet moments can be the most frightening. The pacing forces the audience to sit through some really emotional tension. Now let's talk a bit about how this film was received, because when it came out it did make a huge impact. Critics utterly praised it for its honesty and its intensity, and it was compared to people like Ken Loach and Mike Leigh and frankly early Martin Scorsese, as it was a real deeply personal touch that set this film apart. Many reviewers said it was one of the most unflinching portrayals of British working class life ever made. And as I mentioned, Kathy Burke won Best Actress, and the film received incredible reactions for its authenticity and its emotional strength. In terms of awards, it won BAFTA for Best British Film, it won for Best British Screenplay, and Ray Winstone won massive acclaim for a fearless performance, again Oscar worthy. The audience reaction was obviously a little bit more divided, not because the film's bad, because it's so difficult to watch. Many people said they found it brilliant but wouldn't want to watch it twice. Some viewers found it really cathartic, others found it traumatic, but I think everybody agrees that it feels real. Now, over the years, this film has become a cornerstone of British realism, and it influenced filmmakers such as Shane Meadows and Lynn Ramsay, and it remains one of the best British debuts I think ever made. So if you are a fan of gritty realism, character studies, or films that don't sugarcoat the truth, Nil by Mouth is essential viewing. If you are sensitive to depictions of abuse, or you may prefer something lighter or more structured, this film's going to be overwhelming. It is not an entertainment in any way, shape or form. It's an experience. So Nil by Mouth is one of the most powerful films of the 90s. It's a masterpiece of honesty and emotional courage. It doesn't give you easy answers, and it doesn't pretend life is fair or simple, but it does show you the truth. And sometimes that's more valuable than comfort. Gary Oldman delivered something unforgettable with this film, and decades later it still resonates. It's raw, it's painful, it's human. I think it's one of the best British movies ever made. And I cannot wait for Gary Oldman to make a second movie, because this is the only one he's ever made. Or directed anyway, should I say. That's all from me, thanks for watching. Please don't be afraid to like and subscribe, and if you have seen Nil by Mouth, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. That's all from me, take care, see you later everyone.